I'm going to refactor the speech recognizer into a web component. So let's go to our directory here and open up our index, and then we add a script to the head of our page, which is basically like a polyfill for web components. This is to make it work on older browsers, that kind of stuff. So I'm making a few mistakes here because I was figuring out which exact one to import, but just take the one that you see me add last, or get the code from GitHub or something. I'm going to make a directory called speech recognizer, and here I'm kind of doubting whether or not I will use dashes or underscores, but I will eventually go with underscores. So I make a new directory for my component inside a components directory, and then I make a main.js file. Here I create a new class called speech recognizer. This is kind of syntactical sugar in JavaScript. Classes don't really exist, it's just another way to create functions, but it's nice syntactical sugar. It makes it a lot more understandable if you come from that kind of background. So we create a constructor, which is a way for us to set up our class to have state. I add speech recognizer from the web Git speech recognition. This is not supported in all browsers, like I said before, but we're targeting modern browsers here. I'm making a few mistakes here. I should add this before each of these speech recognizers, but I will fix that later. We want to set it to continuous mode and have interim results. That means that we get chunks of results while we're speaking. This is the same as we've seen it work in the other video that I've done on this. And you can refer to possibly a playlist or a link to the video in the description, or maybe I will add it to the cards here. So we create a start method that will start our speech recognizer, and also added a callback function on result. You can see me just copying the code from the previous video. I'm just typing it out again because I like doing that to get muscle memory, basically. So while I'm doing all this, which is the same as in the previous video, I want to explain a little bit more about this project. Now that I have to work from home all the time, I'm having some issues using the conventional tools to keep connected with my team. It's difficult to just set a Google Hangouts, which is what we use, open all the time, because you do not want to be disturbed all the time. Meanwhile, it's also difficult to grab attention inside the video conferences because people are on their phones and they're writing. So what I'm about to try to create is a better tool for that. Some of its features will be obviously video conferencing, but I want to be connected without being distracted. How that's going to work, figure it out. Also, I want to have a automatic log of the entire call, and then have it summarized automatically and have that data added to some sort of a knowledge graph so that automatically notes are being taken of the meeting. That's going to be kind of our minimal viable product here, to have basically a video conferencing tool that automatically generates minutes or notes of that video conference, of that meeting. If we can build something like that, that would be kind of awesome. So coming back to the code that we're writing here, I'm basically setting up a vanilla web component in JavaScript, and we will go into that a little bit further. I'm also still discovering it. I've done some work on this once for a company, and it looked really interesting because I do not like the ecosystems of most of the frameworks that are out there in Node.js. because of the amount of packages that it relies on. And I want to make something that is a little bit more optimized and small. I like things to be quite small. So while we're doing that, this is just the basic setup for a web component, adding our custom component to the shadow DOM, which makes it encapsulated from the rest of the page, meaning that we can style it the way we want, doing all this. So I'm basically creating a speech recognizer component that will be a standalone thing that you can add to a page, and then will automatically start generating or collecting speech data from the current user. So here we register the new component and attach it to a tag name. And the tag name are these custom HTML tags that we can define and then use in our page. The reason I'm going with web components, again, besides the fact that I hate frameworks, is I just really want to explore them. And since we're targeting modern browsers anyway with our speech recognition and that kind of stuff, we can be relatively sure that they are supported, especially using the polyfill, which will add support for browsers that do not. I'm not sure if they will do that for every browser, but at least the ones that we really care about. So now I'm removing all of my previous code from the previous video, and I'm adding my web component as a module to this page. That should allow it to pick up on our custom tag that we will soon add here. However, we will not get it to work in this video. I do not know why, but most likely while I'm recording this, I'm also working on the solution, so that will be in the next video. There's no problem there. So here I'm just adding some code that was still missing from the previous version. Most notably to actually add the text to a div that we have on the page, like we saw in the previous video. Right, and let's not forget to instantiate a variable for us, like some state in the constructor, that will actually define a link to that element that we're looking for. And this is that element that we define on top of the file. Now we add our custom tag to the body, and this is how that should work. So this is how we add our component to the page. However, like I said, I'm not able to entirely make this work yet, but I'm working on the solution for that, so that will be coming soon. Yeah, so because we are now serving links to JavaScript, we need to actually stop actually opening the file from the local disk system and actually serve it through a proper web server. So I'm just doing that here in Go really quickly. I'm making the most basic static file server we can imagine so that we can actually serve our page correctly. Because at the moment it will give you some errors on loading the JavaScript files for a web component. So I'm just really quickly, this is the simplest web server in Go ever. It will show me some errors because of imports, but saving the file will automatically import because of our amazing tooling. So now I'm running my web server. And here we just make sure that our file is properly included so that our web server can find it. And now here on the right side we see that we still have a little problem here. It still cannot find main. So let's check. Of course, I went with the underscore, so I should have done that correctly. And now we can see that speech recognizer is not defined. Most likely I did a typo or something. Ah yeah, I did not add FM to the... That's kind of like a namespacing kind of thing, so that you do not conflict with other people writing web components. Because if I just call it speech recognizer, everybody is going to call their speech recognizer component speech recognizer. So therefore, we want to add a little prefix to that. Here I'm just checking if I did everything correctly, because there's still a bug apparently. But it's likely that a shift refresh or restarting the server will fix that, and it did. However, we still do not see any output. I'm checking some things here, but that's what I'm saying. We didn't quite make it work, but we will get that to work for sure. So this is going to be sort of an experiment with WebRTC. We're going to use a lot of Go, and we're going to use a lot of web components in vanilla JavaScript. I think it'll be interesting, and it is a tool that I want to work on and that I'm going to work on, so I might as well document it to see if anybody gets anything from that. And on that note, thank you for watching.